You are listening to the Space-Tastic Mysteries podcast. We are continuing Anna Gale Lyne's fourth novel in the Jaguar and Peacock series, Smoke and Mirrors. A deadly sniper stalks the stars. Aboard the Freedom Alliance's frontline StarVessels, crew members are being picked off one by one, the killer striking with chilling precision. When a member of Colonel Jessa Master's team is critically wounded, the threat becomes personal and impossible to ignore. Jessa is no stranger to danger, but this case rattles her. The sniper's methods seem hauntingly familiar, echoing a nearly forgotten nightmare from 9 years ago at the Freedom Alliance admission office, a tragedy she has tried to bury. Is it the same killer, back to settle unfinished business? Or is she chasing shadows conjured by her own haunted memory? This is episode 9, Sage Advice.
She asked the question of me, but Nate answered, "Of course, we are, sis. If you accept this position, you would have to run the curriculum and any major decisions by me and the Freedom Alliance," I remarked, chewing on my bottom lip. "So do you want to answer us now or wait and talk to Colin about it?" Joey covered her mouth with her hands and took a few deep breaths. When she uncovered her mouth, she declared, "My answer is yes, I'm taking the position." She stood. I would be a fool not to take it. It is what I have dreamed of all my life. I leaned forward, thrusting out my hand. "Then welcome to the team, Major Joanna Vincent." Joey shook it. "It's going to be strange being called Major Vincent." She smiled quietly, leaning against the desk. "When people say Major Vincent, I always look to Colin." "You are going to have to get used to it," I returned, laughing. Then I turned very serious. "We don't have much time to get this ready, so I have transferred all the information I have to your Quan pad, including contact information for the teachers." "When do we need to have the curriculum in by?" she inquired, putting her hands down on the desk. Had she been someone else, my company clerk or one of my officers, I wouldn't have appreciated it, but Joey, she was my friend, my sister-in-law, someone who was in my corner. For that, she earned special privileges. "Yesterday," I quipped. "If you or any of the other teachers know of a curriculum that can be adapted to ship life, go ahead and go through the necessary channels to gain permission to use it." "Then I had better get to it," she answered, grinning from ear to ear. With that, she marched out the door. I glanced over at Nate. "She has the easy part. We have to find accommodations for all these people." I pursed my lips and pinched my eyes together. But I just remembered Quarter's assignment is not my job, it is the housing officers. "So we are calling it a day?" asked Nate as he stood, walked to the front of my desk and looked at me. "No, I have to do a couple of things before I head home." I waved him away. "But you go home." "I'll be there in a few minutes, a half hour at the most." "Then I'll stay," he insisted, bending to sit down in a chair in front of the desk. I shook my head, smiling. "No, go home. I can get it done quicker if you aren't here to distract me." I gave him a sidelong glance. "I am sure you understand." "When you put it like that, how could I refuse to help you?" he declared, straightened up and leaned across the desk to kiss me. "I'll be waiting for you at home. I'll be home as soon as I can." When he left, I continued to pore over the bureaucratic paperwork necessary to add so many new people to my vessel. Rubbing my temples, I walked off the travel tram and down the hall toward my quarters. My head pounded as if someone practiced his drum in there. I wanted to get home and take one of those pregnancy-safe analgesics Manning prescribed me the last time I had a migraine. The hallway, deserted, but I couldn't shake the feeling someone followed me. I kept glancing back, but I couldn't see anyone. When I caught sight of something black in my peripheral vision, I ducked into a nearby storage closet, locking the doors. I reached under my coveralls and straightened my impenetrable vest. Kneeling down, I grabbed my Velox Hammer Mod 9, a standard ballistic pistol that had adjustable velocity, from its holster under my pant leg. Weapon at my side, I unlocked the doors. Opening them, I inched out, glancing in every direction, searching for anything or anyone that was out of place. I moved toward my quarters. As I approached them, I heard a Kraken Series precision Gauss sniper gearing up. Most people would not have heard it, but I trained myself to pick up on those type of things. I activated my pistol as I swung around. My finger on the trigger. "We meet again," he said, pointing the sniper weapon at me. "You killed me, so it's only fair that I kill you." He fired at me once. He was about to fire at me again when I aimed at his shoulder and pulled the trigger. His hand flew to his arm. No blood flowed from it. How odd, I thought. Then pushed the notion out of my mind. I lifted my leg, swung it around in a roundhouse fashion and kicked his weapon onto the ground. I kept my pistol on him as he and I both lunged for his weapon. We struggled for a few minutes, but I managed to kick it toward me. Just then the doors to my quarters moved apart as the man escaped down the hallway, holding his arm. "What happened?" Nate and Colin demanded, surveying the scene. "Go after that man," I screamed, pointing down the corridor. "He can't go far. He is shot in the arm." Colin and Nate ran down the hall in that direction. Reaching inside my pocket, I located a tissue. I seized his weapon with it and deactivated my own before walking into my quarters. I brushed past my concerned sister-in-law, deep in thought, barely aware of her talking to me. I marched into the kitchen. I stood there for a moment, thinking, the kids are in the house. Where should I hide his weapon until Colin and Nate get back? I looked around the kitchen. Reaching up, I managed to open the cabinet door above the refrigerator. I stashed the weapon in there, then closed the cabinet. I bent down and replaced my own pistol in its holster. As I straightened up, I noticed it. The hole in my coveralls. I shuddered to think what would have happened if I didn't have the vest on. I stood there, staring at it for a few minutes. Any further down and it would have hit Lizzie and Danny. I pulled open the refrigerator door and scanned the contents. Sliding out the crisper, I transferred potatoes, carrots, green peppers, mushroom, celery, tomatoes, and onions to the nearby counter. I kicked the door shut. I turned on the sink, running my hands under the stream. I washed them thoroughly before reaching into the cabinet for my casserole dish. I grabbed a knife from the flatware drawer. I put the potato on the cutting board, peeling it from one end to the other, then repeated the process until the potato was bald. I peeled another potato and another and another. "Is she okay?" I heard Nate whisper to someone near the entrance of the kitchen. I cut the potatoes into thin, round slices. "I don't know." She came in, went straight to the kitchen. She put her pistol away and the other one in the cupboard above the refrigerator. Probably because the kids are home. She stared at the hole in her shirt for a few minutes, then started making dinner, Joey explained to him. "Do you think that she's okay?" "I'm not sure," came Nate's reply. "Why don't you go? I'll watch her." "I don't need anyone to watch me," I yelled, becoming more aggressive with every cut of the potatoes. "I am not a baby that needs to be." Lowering the knife down, I missed the potato and gashed my finger. I dropped the knife and screamed so loud that the entire universe probably heard me. Grabbing my right index finger, which radiated with excruciating pain, I considered the source of my discomfort the long, deep cut that separated one piece of my skin from the other, which oozed blood. Nate pulled open the drawer next to the dishwasher and retrieved the first aid kit. Then cleaned the area with lukewarm water and soap and patted it dry. I winced as he applied a thin layer of antibiotic ointment to the cut with a cotton swab and covered it with a bandage. Lifting my face with his finger, he reported, "It looks like it is a deep cut. I'd feel better if you saw the doctor." I nodded, pressing my thumb to the center of my comlet. I apprised Dr. Manning of the situation, informing him that we were on our way. "Listen, I don't care what you have to do. I want those supplies ready by the time we arrive. Do you understand?" I demanded, leaning back in the chair in my office. My hands behind my head. A knock came on the doors. "Come," I called out to the visitor. The doors split open, revealing a dark-haired man, a younger version of my husband Nate, pushing a double stroller. My jaw dropped at the sight of Ben. I had to be dreaming. Ben was dead. I was there. I saw the crash. I rubbed my eyes. I couldn't be seeing Ben unless I was asleep. I will have to call you back, I informed the supplier on my computer screen. I stood, smoothing out my black flight coveralls. I rounded the corner of my desk, giving him a long, lingering look from head to toe. I rushed over to him, throwing my arms around him. He drew me against his chest. He felt as real as I did. I leaned back, looking into his face. Ben, what are you doing here? I'm here to see you, of course, he answered in a jovial tone. He put his hand to my face, stroking my cheek. Angel, you are still so beautiful, and so happy. I knew you would be. I felt the heat rising to my cheeks, studying his face. His bottom lip curled, and there was a distance in his eyes as if he were thinking about something else. You didn't come here for a social visit, did you? You are here on business. Is one of us dying? No, no, he assured me, cradling my face with his hands. That's not the way it works. I am not here to escort you into heaven. He led me over to the couch. After we sat down, he took my hands and said, I have a message for you. What is it? I couldn't get over the fact that I was sitting here, talking to Ben. 1,000 questions paraded through my mind. Questions about heaven, God, Joshua, Abby. Trust your instincts. Everything and everyone isn't exactly as they seem. Could you be more cryptic? I inquired, giving him a sidelong glance. I know you are only the messenger. He shot me a sympathetic smile. I wish I could give you more to go on. Do you have to leave right away, or can you stay? It's not often these days that I get to talk to you. Actually, I wanted to thank you for your gift. I pinched my eyes together. My gift? He gazed over at the stroller that sat near my desk, grinning from ear to ear. Abby. I rested my hand on my protruding stomach. Was I really carrying triplets? Ben nodded. I don't even recognize my brother anymore. Nate's such a family man, protective, loving, strong in his faith. He patted my leg. Everything I knew he could be. I don't know everything about this heaven thing, but does it ever bother you? Nate and me, I mean. He shook his head, pursing his lips. No, because if I can't be with you, I cannot think of a person I would rather see you with than Nate. He stood up and walked over to the stroller. He pushed it over to the couch. Would you like to meet your daughter? Looking down into the stroller, I gazed into the eyes of my children. The older one I recognized as Joshua, the baby that Ben had with him the first time he visited. I smiled at him, touching his face. Hi again, Joshua. You having fun with Daddy? Mommy loves you. Always remember that. He waved his little hand at me, giggling. I took a deep breath, then glanced at the breathtaking little girl sitting in the next seat. Staring at her for a moment, I turned back to Ben. She looked so much like Reggie when Reggie was a baby. That dark hair. Those eyes and mouth. I know. Isn't Abby perfect? I peered back at her, reached in and removed her from her seat. I put her to my chest, smiling at her. Hi, Abby. I'm your mommy. I patted her back, scrutinizing her. I tried to burn her features into my head for future recall. I love you, sweetie. I glanced at Ben as I rocked her. Reggie had a hard time when you left us. Do you ever visit her? I know our daughter is smart, but where did you think that our 9-year-old got that bit about Nate being the daddy I left in charge of her? I tilted my head. You? He nodded. It seems to have worked on Remy too. Abby put her head on my shoulder. Yes, she was definitely perfect. Thank you, I whispered to Ben. Just remember what I told you, trust your instincts. Everything and everyone isn't exactly as they seem. Trust my instincts. Everything and everyone isn't exactly as they seem, I repeated over and over again. Peek, Nate called out to me, gently shaking me. Peek, wake up. I slowly opened my eyes, looking up into Nate's cappuccino-colored ones full of concern. Peek, you were having a nightmare. I reached up and touched his face, smiling. No, Jag, it was not a nightmare. But you were screaming, trust your instincts. Everything and everyone isn't exactly as they seem, he protested, ordering Chip to raise the lights. He sat up, smoothing the blanket in front of him. I pushed myself up into an upright position, folding the edge of the blanket over my stomach. You wouldn't believe me, if I told you. He slipped his arm around me. Try me. I met Abby. Our Abby, I declared, clamping my eyes shut. I could see her face as clearly as I had in the dream. Her nose. Her innocent eyes. The way she felt in my arms. I know how weird that must sound, I added, opening my eyes. I turned my head to look at him. No, he answered, pinched his eyes together and shook his head. It's not weird at all to hear my wife say that she met our dead child. I could hear the sarcasm dripping from his voice. Next you are going to tell me that you talked with Ben too. He scrutinized my face for a moment before throwing his hands up in the air. I grabbed my robe off the bedpost and put it on. I stood up and walked toward the doors. Where you going? He demanded. Somewhere you aren't, I retorted, moved out the bedroom doors and stormed down the hall. Halfway down the hall, I felt a tightening in my abdomen, then a sharp pain. Something's wrong. I grabbed my stomach, biting my lip to keep from screaming. Don't worry, Mommy's here. We'll get through this, I whispered to my stomach. I trudged my way down the hall. One hand on my stomach. The other moving along the wall. Maybe it's just Braxton Hicks. Yeah, that was probably it, I assured myself. I had them all the time with Reggie. What was it that Dr. Meadows used to tell me to do? Increase my water intake. The contraction of my uterus lessened as I headed into the kitchen. Opening the refrigerator, I removed the pitcher of water. I placed it on the counter while I reached into one of the cupboards for a glass. I poured water into the glass and drank it down. With it in hand, I sank to the floor. I had forgotten what this stage in the pregnancy felt like. This had been a vivid reminder. I love you, Lizzie and Danny, but if you scare me like that again, Mommy is not going to be happy. They kicked in response to my voice. I rubbed my stomach. Don't worry. Everything's fine now. I took a deep breath. Except your daddy thinks I'm psycho. I looked down at my stomach. I talked to your Uncle Ben in a dream. I know what you are thinking, Ben's dead and so is your sister Abby and your brother Joshua. But I saw them. I know I did. Using the edge of the counter to help me, I stood up and moved back to the pitcher of water. I poured myself another. Turning away, I put the glass to my lips. My stomach tightened again, ensued by a long sharp pain. I dropped the glass as I grabbed my abdomen. It crashed, shattering pieces of glass and water everywhere. I heard the bedroom doors open and hurried footsteps rush down the hallway. I knew it was Nate, but at that point, I didn't care. Peek, what happened? Nate asked, surveying the damage. When his eyes fell upon me, he rushed to my side. What's wrong? Is it the babies? Is something wrong with them? I straightened up as the pain lessened. I opened the small closet door in the kitchen, pulling out a broom and dustpan. I started sweeping up the mess. Nate grabbed the broom from me, sweeping it himself. Tell me what happened. It's nothing. I was feeling some contractions. He stopped sweeping, threw down the broom and rushed to my side. Then we need to get you to the hospital right away, he instructed, his voice bordering on hysteria. When I didn't move, he stared at me incredulously. I am not in labor, I told him, leaning against the cabinet. But you said you were having contractions, he protested, staring at me as though I had grown a second nose. It's Braxton Hicks. Braxton who? Nate picked up the broom and resumed his sweeping, gathering all the pieces in one place. John Braxton Hicks, an 1872 English doctor. He described what I felt as the muscles of my uterus tightening, I explained, bending down to hold the dustpan for him. Glancing up at him, I noticed the confused look on his face. But since they are coming toward the end of the pregnancy, with this intensity, it's referred to as false labor. How do you know that you aren't in real labor? He questioned, moving the pile of glass into the dustpan. When you are in labor, you know it. Labor pains are longer and intensify as time goes by, I attempted to answer him. It was difficult to explain labor pains to someone who hadn't experienced them firsthand. I shook the dustpan into the garbage can under the sink, ridding it of the glass. Then I touched his arm and said in the most gentle voice I could muster, I know this is scary, but I've been through this before. I moved from the kitchen to the living room, where I put my hands behind me, lowering myself onto the couch. I shoved a couple of throw pillows between my back and the couch. Nate walked over to me and took a seat next to me. Is she beautiful? He asked, leaning back, rubbing his nose. Abby, I mean. He looked over at me. A smile spread across my face. Oh yeah. She looks a lot like Reggie when she was a baby. I put my hands to my shoulder as if I was still holding her. When I held her, she put her head on my shoulder. I never wanted to let her go. I wish you could have seen her. Me too. He sighed heavily. I inched closer to him, putting my arms around his shoulders, whispering, she is in heaven, waiting for us. I reached over and put my hand over his heart. She is right here. She's always with you. He turned and embraced me. I wrapped my arms around him. After a few minutes, he lifted his head. He pushed my hair out of my eyes and bent down and kissed my upturned lips. I returned his kiss, wondering about his sudden change in mood. My comlet chimed. Dr. Manning to Colonel Masters. Nate and I exchanged troubled glances. I wonder what that is about, declared Nate, taking my hand in his. I put my thumb to the center of my comlet, greeting, Dr. Manning, what is it? Colonel, I realize that it is late, but would it be possible for you and Lieutenant Colonel Masters to come to my office? I have discovered something of which you might be interested. Can it wait until tomorrow, Doctor? I have been up with Braxton Hicks contractions. I could really use some sleep, I explained to him. Even more reason for you to come in, so I can make sure everything is fine with the babies, came Dr. Manning's response. All right, I agreed, standing. The Lieutenant Colonel and I will be there shortly. I made a call to Colin and Joey, asking them to sit with Remy and Reggie until we returned.